You are listening to the Lawyer Stories podcast with host Benny Gold. Lawyer Stories was founded in July 2017 on Instagram and is an expanding global network of lawyers and law students sharing their personal journeys to the noble profession of the practice of law. Join us on this podcast as we dig deeper into these stories and hear from lawyers and law students from around the world in all areas of the legal profession. Here at Lawyer Stories, we believe that every lawyer has a story. What's yours?
Welcome to the Lawyer Stories podcast with Benny Gold, episode 44. Today we welcome in New York City lawyer Leo Shalit, owner of Leo Shalit PC, specializing in criminal defense, white-collar litigation, and personal injury. How are you, my friend?
Hi, Benny. Thank you for having me on the show. Everything is really good.
Good. It's great to see you. We featured you almost 2 years ago. It's like almost our 2-year anniversary. It was May 29th, 2019. As of this recording, it is May 18th. So it's, we've been in contact ever since. It's a great thing. I see you doing some awesome things out there. I think we did a video between now and then your first feature for you to give like a legal update in Manhattan. So, I really appreciate you supporting this journey that I am on with Lawyer Stories. So good to have you here, man. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. I love the Lawyer Stories community. I think that you're doing some very important work.
Go ahead.
So I think that you're doing some very important work with Lawyer Stories, bringing legal professionals from all over the world together. The world is much smaller today in 2021, but our profession is ancient. Unfortunately, lawyers remain a necessary evil in all times. And I think that what you're doing for the community is great. So I'm happy to support it.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate those kind words. So you have a very interesting story. I went back and I refreshed my memory. What you sipping on there, Leah? What you got?
So today I got this Isaac Bowman bourbon whiskey.
Good stuff.
What about you?
Yeah, I got some Larceny bourbon. Shout out to my friends at Larceny Bourbon. We appreciate it. It's good stuff. I appreciate the bourbon and would highly recommend it to the Lawyer Stories community. L'chaim.
L'chaim. Unfortunately, I only deal with grand larceny, not regular larceny.
That's right. I'm sure we'll get into that. So tell me, like, where did you grow up? Let's hear it. Like, what, where were you?
Sure. So I follow Lawyer Stories, and a lot of the stories that you post has to do with immigrants, first generation people that came to the United States, people that are the first lawyers in their family, especially within the United States legal system. So my story is interesting, but I never considered it to be unique because a lot of children were brought to the United States when they were minor. So I was born in St. Petersburg, Russia. It was called Leningrad when I was there.
Wow.
When it was communist in 1983.
Okay.
And I came from a well-to-do family. My father was a dentist in Russia, and my uncle to this day is a professor. But the problem with Russia at that point was that it was very anti-Semitic, and we were political refugees to a certain degree. The borders were closed, and we weren't, my father and my mother were not able to leave when they wanted to. So in 1988, when I was 4 years old, I'm told that they got a call from the government that if they wanted to leave, then we can leave very quickly.
Okay.
And with no real assets. We would have to renounce our citizenship and go through what I call the Immigrant Underground Railroad.
Okay.
Because there used to be no direct way to get from communist Russia to the United States. So you used to have to go to Austria, spend some time in Austria, then Italy. Some people went over to London, and then there were humanitarian programs. Some of them was called HIAS, and Nayana. They helped Soviet Jews immigrate to the United States
Wow.
as political refugees. And that's how we came to the United States in the summer of 1988.
Wow. Do you remember anything from, I know it's really early on, you're 4 years old, but from St. Petersburg? Do you remember any memories from there or no?
I could tell you that my father remembers a lot more stuff.
Yeah, I bet. Like, and you did say, like, you mentioned in your first story, I mean, in your story, that you were supposed to be a dentist, and like your dad was a dentist, your uncle was a professor. So, like, what was that all about? Like, you were just following his footsteps?
No, so in my family, there was always, like in a lot of immigrant families, my parents wanted me to have a profession.
Yeah.
It was very important for me to come out of school and not just have a degree, but have a way to support myself. And of course, initially, dentistry was the first and natural choice because my father became a licensed dentist in the United States,
Okay.
and I
Did that
watched
take him
him.
a long time coming from?
So there used to be a program at NYU University. It's kind of the equivalent of an LLM for foreign
Okay.
trained attorneys, but it was a 3-year program. And I watched my father do something truly amazing because he went back to school and passed his licensing in a different language.
Okay.
He didn't speak English when he came to the United States, but he took
Wow.
all the boards in English. And my father was always a very positive example of how to overcome adversity the honest way, through hard work and not giving up on your goals. So naturally, he was someone that I looked up to. And when I was in college and it was time to figure out which grad school I'm going to pursue, of course, there was this conflict between law and dentistry. But in the end, the law ended up winning out because, in my opinion, dentists have no edge. And I'm just a guy that likes adrenaline and edge and stuff like that. And while I will admit that dentistry is still a great profession,
Yeah.
and my cousin's a dentist, and he absolutely loves it. I think that I made the right choice for my personality. I'm a natural litigator,
Yeah.
that's my opinion.
Oh yeah. So you got a good presence too. Like, so did you know what the moment was when you said, like, I'm going to be a lawyer? Was there a moment?
Yeah, yeah. There wasn't a moment, but there was an event that
Okay.
made me want to go to law school. So I was always interested in law because um, I wanted to make money with my head instead of my hands,
Okay.
right? And I thought that law would allow me a back door to any type of business that I had a passion for. So very early on in college, I borrowed some money from my family to become this grand real estate investor, and the deal went south,
Okay.
and we entered litigation. So when I was 18 years old, I had this whole litigation experience um, where the attorney that represented us in the deal really didn't do a good job in protecting my interests in the contract.
Wow. Okay.
So after that point, I kind of wanted to make sure that this never happened again.
Yep.
And that was the motivation to go to law school so that I can learn the system from inside out and know how to protect my own interests wherever, my life takes me.
Well, that's interesting because were on like a appellate honors program there, but you got a certificate with real estate at Pace, right?
Yes, that's true.
So I think it's interesting because you have this background in like immigration, sort of like being an immigrant, and then you have this real estate issue that comes up. But then
Right.
but then you sort of will get to like where you're at now with the law, but you didn't really take that up as like what you wanted to do, like with your firm.
Right. So what happened was that when I got my license and it was a bad time to be coming out of law school, there weren't a lot of jobs. And I really wanted to get legal experience. My father told me that nobody needs a 40-year-old entry-level attorney. So
What year did you graduate law school?
oh, I don't want to tell you the wrong day. I think 2010, 2011.
Oh, dude, I graduated like a few years before you, man. I can't believe it. It's crazy because it's May. So every time May rolls around, you're like, oh man, I graduated like
Right.
100 years ago, right? So
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, yeah. But when I came out, there really weren't a lot of jobs, and I was really motivated to get some experience. So I took a job in this personal injury firm.
right,
So my first three jobs, I worked for a year each, and I did personal injury. Um, Great firms for bosses that I still have good relationships with today. And then sometime after that, when my son was born, I made the decision to go solo and enter private practice for myself.
right.
And I'm happy to announce that I'm still successful, still in business for myself. It's been 7 years now.
Wow.
And I have a new venture with some friends that we
Yep,
started
yep,
that I guess we'll get into a little bit later.
yep.
But when I hit the street, because I'm an immigrant and because we didn't have too many connections with attorneys, um, I don't think we even knew a lawyer. I had to really pound the pavement and learn on the fly, trial by fire.
Right,
And the way I did it was that I would take on cases that I was passionate about, whether it was a homicide defense or a personal injury car accident. But if I felt that there was an issue that I didn't know the right way to approach it, I would establish relationships with older, more experienced attorneys.
right. Smart.
And in some situations, we would split the fee. In other situations, they would just tell me what to do. And over the years, they filled in all the gaps in the experience.
Wow.
And over time, I was really able to pick up a lot of really deep experience in complex litigation. So, personal injury, even if you get a great case today, most likely you're not going to receive compensation on it for a long time
Right.
because of the way that the insurance companies defend them. It could be 6 months or it could be 3 years. But
Right.
because personal injury was the only thing that I had training for, I needed a way to make money to pay the rent and to support my family. So, because of my background and partially my sports background, I started taking these business litigation, quasi criminal cases. When I say white collar, I'm referring to defending business people or businesses from government investigations, fraud investigations, overbilling investigations. So, it requires a knowledge of commercial litigation,
Okay.
criminal defense,
Hmm.
and legal compliance. If you put all of that in the soup and you mix it together, that's what white collar defense is. But you have serious adversaries, either the big insurance companies or the Department of Justice, the Attorney General's office.
Yep.
So it's an exciting field for people that like adrenaline and to be involved in high stakes cases.
Well,
Um,
yeah, I'm gonna stop and go to one of your quotes from your lawyer stories that I had kind of down my list of questions, and you said, and this sort of goes to what you're saying, but in New York City, litigation is practiced at the highest levels, and the competition is fierce. So, like, tell me a little bit about that quote. Like, you said that and I agree. I mean, like the best. I feel like the best of the best, and can be anywhere. It doesn't matter. But New York City is a competitive place.
So yeah, I said it 2 years ago, and it's still true today. I think it's always going to be true. New York is a major international metropolitan city, like Tokyo, like Moscow, and in these legal services markets, you have not only firms with tremendous resources. You have 100-year firms that have 3,000 attorneys that can afford to spend unlimited money in the defense or prosecution of an action. You also have the Southern District of Manhattan and the Eastern District of Manhattan, which is where our government, our federal government, brings the largest and most high stakes cases in the United States.
Yeah.
It's not only related to New York or New York City. It also has to do with the federal appellate court and all the rulings that come out of that. It's in line with a lot of the Washington policies, so it's a convenient forum for the feds to litigate in.
Wow.
Plus, New York is a city of artists and culture, and you have a lot of diversity. And with that comes a lot of talented people, of course, a lot of wealthy people.
Yep.
And when you have so much of everything, you got to be on your A game, because nobody wants to pay money to an attorney and then not feel like, this guy's at the top of the food chain.
Right.
So, so for those reasons, New York is still the place where a lot of the big litigations go down. A lot of the forum selection clauses and contracts put New York County Supreme Court for business cases all over the country.
It's interesting. Yeah. No kidding. So like, I was going to ask you about like law school, but I feel like we've really passed that time. I wanted to ask you like what your experience was like and like what you liked and disliked about it, but we don't really have to go there.
About law school?
Yeah, just like I'm curious because law school, it was a long time ago for both of us, but
it was a long time ago, but it doesn't feel like it was that long.
It really doesn't. I know it doesn't.
I could tell you that I'm very grateful to my law school for the education that they gave me.
Yep.
And for all the wonderful professors that I met, and for kind of giving me my foundation that I still rely on today. I will forever be grateful to Pace Law School.
So I think you went into the practice of law, or you knew you were going to be like your own man, like your own entrepreneur, building your own business. And I think like that's whether you were a dentist or an attorney, and like, what's like the best thing like of owning your own shop, and like what's the hardest thing about being a solo practitioner out there?
Sure. So I knew even before I picked a profession that the number one thing was to be in a position to have your own shop. It was something that my family ingrained in me, and
Right.
it was a personal goal of mine from the start. Even when I was working for people, I was just trying to get as much experience as I could so that I would be in a position to run my own practice. So, and it never really bothered me about how hard it's going to be or the risk of failing, because in the moment, I'm never nervous about that. And if I have a goal, I always do my very best to achieve it. So, and I believed in myself. I believed that even if I wasn't going to have the biggest firm in New York City or even in the United States, that there was still a place in the legal services market for Leo Shalit PC.
Yep.
That was the bet that I made when I quit my job. And time has proven that, I was correct in that estimate. So what I like is I like helping people. I like helping people solve problems that they can't solve themselves. It sounds cheesy. A lot of people talk about it. Zealous advocacy. People have a lot of different terms for it. But what I'm really into, it's a concept one of my mentors taught me. It's called moving the mountain. So, like, what do I mean by that? In my two practice areas, I always go up against the Goliath.
Okay.
If it's a personal injury case, then we're going up against a big insurance company that has, unlimited resources, good attorneys, maybe wants to pay, but wants to pay as little as possible, capable of defending it all the way. On the white collar or criminal defense arena, I'm going up against the Department of Justice or the Attorney General's office, also a Goliath-like agency.
Sure.
And in these practice areas, the clients really need strong advocacy, strong representation, because you got to move the mountain, right? What do I mean by that? Insurance company tells you no, you got to get them to say yes, right? Or you want to work out a better deal for your client. How do you actually do that? because oftentimes if you go against them on the law,
Yep.
like if you try to fight the mountain with another mountain, you may not win
Right.
because the evidence may be against you. But if you're able to move the mountain, meaning through effective strategy, effective advocacy, understanding what the other side needs, you can still get a favorable result for your client, but not necessarily try to win on the law. And, that's something that I find that the most effective attorneys, not only me, but the people that I look up to, are able to do that. That's how they get those results that, people don't understand how you got this number or how you got this deal when the client was guilty or when the case was shitty, there was no injury, right?
Right.
Or the injury wasn't as severe as, um, as one of the people was saying, because every case has issues. There's no such thing as a perfect case. So how you work with the bad parts of the case and how you turn them to your client's advantage, that's what I call moving the mountain. And
So is that sort of like that saying, like, if you have the facts, you argue the facts. If you have the law, you argue the law, like that sort of thing, right?
I guess so. I think in the simplest terms, it's just playing your cards right.
Yeah.
Right. But you have to understand that not every card corresponds to a legal brief. There's other ways to resolve matters.
Mm-hmm.
And most of them start with picking the right approach, how you approach your adversary, how you approach your client, getting your adversary to move a little bit, getting your client to move a little bit, breaching that gap.
Right.
That's the skill. And I find that the really effective attorneys know how to do this. And that's why they're able to close the more difficult cases.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that's kind of what I'm into. What I'm not into is the stress and the pressure that comes with representing people on their worst days.
Yeah.
And I try to understand from the beginning that even though I may have 3 or 4 cases like this a day, every day, and for me, it's just part of my job, but for the client, it's the most important case of their life, and their life is riding on it. So
Right.
I always try to give people that respect and convey that understanding that they're not just a piece of paper to me, that they're human, and I understand that this case will affect their life. But with that, of course, comes the responsibility of trying to do a good job
Yeah.
and
Of course.
of trying to win the case, but sometimes things aren't in your control.
Right.
My favorite example is that even the best doctors can't make every quadriplegic walk, right? Even though you could be the best doctor in the world, sometimes the injury is too severe and you just can't save a person. And sometimes you do. And
Yeah.
on those days, you feel like Superman. And sometimes it goes against you, even though you did everything right, and you're heartbroken because you have these long-term relationships with your clients. And if you care, then you're going to feel some type of way about it at the end.
Oh yeah. No, it's a lot of pressure. Tons
Sure.
of pressure every day, day in and day out, for sure.
Yeah, pressure, nonstop adversarial situations, confrontations, and of course the competition is fierce, right? Like you want to market a little bit, you want to scale your practice a little bit. Somebody already did that 6 months ago.
Right.
Right. It's very tough to be innovative and first to market with anything in New York. I'm definitely no Bill Gates, so I don't have any misconceptions about that. I'm not starting the new Microsoft. But I can, win your case.
Yeah. Oh, of course. And I do know how you get rid of all that stress when you go and you're doing your black belt in judo and like your kickboxing. So so you've been really at that for a while, huh? That's like your big pastime, right?
Yeah. So it's a hobby that I have had for a long time. It's something, so judo is, it's a jacketed wrestling style that's popular in the world and in Russia. My father did it.
Wow.
And when I was growing up, I got into it. So from 16 to present, so it's almost like 20 years now,
Yep.
I've been training hard and competing in amateur competitions. So my top result was third in New York in judo. I got a
Wow.
bronze. I got a bronze medal at the Empire State Games, which is the New York Amateur Olympics. You basically have to be champion in your region.
Yep.
I was Nassau County champion in absolute division, which is any weight against any weight. And then I represented the county in the championships where I got a bronze. And then I did that for about 10 years. And then I started to do kickboxing and then competed in some kickboxing matches on an
Okay.
amateur level. My last fight was during law school, actually, in my 2L year,
Okay.
when I had this fantasy of becoming a world champion, but I got hurt in my last amateur fight.
Really?
And yes, it wasn't anyone's fault. It was just something that I had a pre-existing injury in my shoulder, and my arm got dislocated during the match. And that kind of ended it. After that, I took the bar. I got my license. I started practicing law, and there was no more time for competition. I promised my father I wouldn't do it anymore. And now I help run a club
Okay.
in Queens. It's called the International Judo Center.
Nice.
And it's run by my friends Sato and Tom Yu of Tom Yu's Kickboxing.
Okay.
And we train kids for self-defense and confidence, but also for the cage and competitions. We have some national champions in the school.
Wow.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen so I know this is totally different, and I swear I'm not trying to make like a little joke or anything, but
Sure.
only because I just watched it like 2 months ago. But have you ever what about Cobra Kai? Like, did you ever watch like the Karate Kid sequence or sequel?
Yeah, of course. I watched like the first 2 seasons.
Okay.
Of,
No, because when you said you opened like your own like plates, I just I think of Johnny like doing that. I mean, not that you were like a Johnny back then, but I just was kind of thought of you know what I'm saying, I guess.
I know what you're saying. So first of all, it's just I just help out with the club.
Okay.
They're like legal stuff and some policy for the program.
Gotcha.
It's run by my friends
Okay,
Sato and Tom. But I came to martial arts because it allowed me a way to keep my spirit strong and deal with the adversity of coming up in the world, working hard to get ahead. And it just gave me a way to create more confidence in myself. I was never a bully, and I always tried to defend the weaker person. And I think that a lot of that has translated into the way I run my practice.
That's right.
And the type of cases that I take on. But I just always wanted nobody to bother me, but I never bothered nobody.
Got it. So tell us about your new venture. Like, you're doing something with called Jacob's Lelev Graham and Shallot. What's that all about?
Yeah, so I was solo for 6 or 7 years, and I was successful. There was no complaints about my work, but there was one thing that I was very unhappy about, and I was having a real problem changing it. So I came to a point in my practice where I wanted to scale the business, and that involves hiring staff and reshuffling how I spend my time, right? Because there's some things that I should be spending my time on, and there's some things that I felt that I wasn't. But the challenges of bringing in new money, working the cases, closing the files, dealing with the clients, sending out the mail, doing the documents, it all became stressful.
Did you have anybody helping you out?
So I did have people helping me out, but
Yeah.
I was struggling to get past a certain threshold where it wouldn't be all me 100% anymore.
Mhm.
So totally by accident during COVID, uh, me and three of my friends, Leo Jacobs, Ilan Leliev, and Henry Graham, who I consider to be amazing attorneys in their own right, we came together to form a super firm and
Very
to
nice.
fix this issue of scale. I know, and I have no disillusions about it, that we're not the first four lawyers to team up to try to, do a bigger firm and scale it and all that. But these are friends of mine that we have done cases together for many, many years, highly complex cases in New York. We've had amazing results, and we decided to take the leap to the next level to see if we can really build this type of super firm.
It's great.
So, we call it JLGS, which is the acronym Jacobs, Leliev, Graham, and Shallot. And so far, everything is going really good. I'm very happy with the partnership.
So when did this start, and are you still have it? Do you still have like your own firm? Like, how does that work? So
Sure. So I still, moving forward, we are operating in the name of JLGS. There are some cases that are still going to be run under my own firm, but that's
okay,
more of a logistical issue.
right,
And we are in the process of working out all the kinks as far as operating as a unit, as a full unit. But I'll be honest with you, it's very challenging because, like, I have my clients and my cases going on, they have their clients and their cases, and we're doing our best to set the policies. We hired staff and paralegals, and I'm happy to report to you that I've accomplished a lot of the goals that I wanted to, as far as scale,
that's
as
great.
far as spending my time properly and delegating, learning how to delegate, which was a weakness of mine that I have really worked on.
Right. Yep.
And I look forward to the future because I see the power in delegation. I
Yes,
see how we can scale and take on even bigger cases
for
as
sure.
long as we have a uniform vision and we operate as a team.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I mean, when you want to grow something, you have to have the infrastructure, and you got to be able to delegate. You have to be able to do the things like, you might want to go out and like meet clients and have, some other people in the office, the paralegal, do the work as much as they can and that sort of thing. You review it, but you're the one with the firm. But it sounds like whatever you're doing is pretty accurate, man. I'm really excited for you. So congratulations. That's really cool.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we'll have to get your partners featured or on the podcast or something. When the
Sure.
time's right, you just let me know.
Oh my God, there's such talkers.
Yeah, we'll get them
You
right
think
on.
I'm the talker, but I'm the least of the talkers.
No, I don't know.
Yes, believe me, believe
I don't
me.
think that. I don't think that at all. I just think it's awesome that you're in New York doing your thing. You made it. How was the COVID thing? How did that affect like what you were doing? Obviously, there was a big silver lining for you, coming up with a firm with three of your good friends.
Right.
But was there any challenges that you faced during the whole COVID?
Oh my God. COVID was just one big exercise in being flexible because, first of all, the courts were shut down. And I'm sure any litigation attorney that you speak with will tell you
Yes.
that it was just insane because all the rules went out the window. Yes, they told some of the statute of limitations, but I got the feeling that nobody knew what was going on. Not the governments, not the court system, nobody.
Right.
And everybody was just making it up as they went along. So I think that for COVID, the name of the game became survival,
Mhm.
right? And figuring out what the future of law is going to look like.
Right.
I think that this whole electronic lawyering through Zoom and doing a lot of the conferences through Zoom, we watched it all unfold, and the new associates who are coming out of law school maybe this year, next year, may never even go to court for a preliminary conference.
Yeah, I mean, do you think it's changed the way that New York is going to practice law? I mean, I've talked to other people. We had a young man on our podcast the last episode, and he thinks so, and it's interesting.
I think that 80% of it is going to remain electronic.
Wow.
Most of the motion practice, most of the status conferences in court will remain electronic. However, trials, especially cross-examination, in my experience, for me, it's very important to be in the same room
Yeah.
and to feel the person that I'm questioning. And a lot of attorneys, a lot of litigators feel that way too. So what I'm finding is that the judges will continue to hold jury trials
Yep.
in person, but almost everything other than that can be resolved with Zoom or electronic conferences.
Wow. Okay. That's it. Yeah, that's interesting. So Leo, is there anything we missed out tonight that you want to tell us?
Is there anything that I missed out that
Yeah, we didn't. We covered a lot of ground, I think.
Yeah, real quick, I wanted to talk about cannabis legalization.
Oh, that's right. Cannabis. Let's get there.
So
Big pivot over to cannabis, huh?
big pivot over to cannabis. New York jumped on the legalization train, and my firm is involved in representing clients in this space even before the legalization process, not only on the defense side, but also on the business side. And even though the regulations aren't written yet, like
Yep.
the law has been passed, but New York State still has to establish what's called an Office of Cannabis Management, which is going to be an independent legal entity under the umbrella of the Liquor Licensing Authority. So my guess is that they want to make it like a liquor license application, but
Right.
the specific regulations, like what you have to put into an application to get a dispensary, is not out yet. And we're hopeful that in the next 6 months it's going to be out, and we will be in a position to represent people in this space and give them the proper guidance.
So did that come new with your new partners that you're doing that now, or is that something that you've wanted to a space that you've always wanted to get into?
So I've been in the space from the very beginning.
Okay.
The first ever medical marijuana trade show, even before medical marijuana was legalized in New York, was at the Marriott Hotel. There was a trade show there, and there were growers, cultivators, extractors, industry people there. And what I did was I rented a booth for my office to provide legal services to these people.
Okay.
And there's some quotes on the internet. I was featured in High Times.
Oh, nice.
Years ago, from like 2015 or 2016.
Okay.
Ever since then, I've been following the legalization process across the country. And now that it's come to New York, I feel like I'm in a position to get involved and help my clients. So I'm excited.
Oh, great. Very cool.
Right.
Congrats. Okay. Yeah, I just kind of learned that about you, reading that you're in that. So that's definitely something that's.
Well, it's close to the white collar defense, the criminal defense, the business stuff. It's a subject matter that I'm comfortable with.
Yeah. No, it's very interesting. I liked it, especially when you said it's like you mix the criminal defense with the government with, like this in the soup,
Yeah, it tastes good.
It tastes good. Yeah.
You need some hot sauce though.
There you go. You like that stuff. All right. So Leo, I know we covered a lot of ground. I don't want to leave anything out if there's something that we want to.
No, I just want to thank everyone who is listening to this, anyone that wants to reach out to me in New York.
How can they do that?
My Instagram is Mr. Leo Shalit, or leo@shalit-law.com. I want to thank you, Mr. Benny Gold, for
thank you, Leo.
being a good friend.
Likewise.
Over the years.
Likewise. Thank you.
And giving me a platform to get
anytime.
my soapbox. And if I could, I just want to take 2 seconds to shout out Leo Jacobs, Alon Laley of Henry Graham. Really looking forward to everything that this future of ours is going to bring. I think that you guys are great attorneys, and I'm super happy to be in the venture with you.
Yeah.
I also want to shout out the International Judo Center and Tom Yu. I really enjoy spending my evenings de-stressing from all of the lawyer problems And I think that it's a really good environment. If anyone wants quality judo or kickboxing training, they can look up the club. Thank you.
Very good. Leo, always a pleasure. Stay right there. You're doing awesome things in New York, man. Keep up the great work. I'm psyched to see what happens with your new business venture, and keep kicking ass, like literally with the judo and the kickboxing. So everybody in the Lawyer Stories community, thanks for tuning in. Wherever you are in the world today, enjoy yourselves. Cheers.
Cheers.